The Seattle Seahawks play their preseason finale on Saturday against the Packers. What's going on, people? Good morning. We have made it to Friday, made it to the end of the working week, and we are one day away from the preseason finale in Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers. So before long, the games are going to count. So we're going to talk about this game a little bit here. I know that some of the interest has been pulled out of this game by the coaching staff. I know that there are going to be some players that are very compelling that are not going to be on the field this week on both sides. But there's still going to be plenty of intriguing stuff in this game. Before we get to this one, though, a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, I want to say, if you didn't catch my videos on the joint practice from yesterday, they were uploaded a little bit later than usual last night. So go watch the last couple of videos on the channel before this one. So I did address all the stuff that happened to the joint practice. It was interesting. It was actually mostly, as near as I could tell, pretty positive. But I wasn't able to make videos until later in the day. And those videos, I don't like uploading late because I know that's not the most active hours for the people who watch my videos, but it had to happen yesterday. So if you didn't get a chance to watch those videos yesterday, please go do so now. We go over pretty much everything that we heard coming out of Lambeau Field with that joint practice. Number 2, this game I will not be doing a watch-along live stream of. There will be no watch-along live stream from me. I know some others are going to be doing it, so definitely go check those guys out. But I will be doing my typical coverage of this game right after it ends, which means half-hour-long stream on Bleacher Report within 5 minutes of the game ending. Post-game video probably goes live within the next 30 minutes after the end of that stream. And then we're going to do sometime after dinner, I would say, we're going to do about an hour-long stream on YouTube discussing the whatever happened in this game. So that's number 2. And number 3, I did skip the Twitch stream last night. I know I said I was going to stream on Twitch last night, but I got tired. Yesterday was a very irregular day for me, and I just fell asleep. So we're going to be making it up today for sure. Might be doing an afternoon stream, and very good chance that we go very, very long into the night so we can continue this marathon and finish it before Delta comes out. Hope to see you guys there. Okay, that just leaves us the whatever we need to talk about with this upcoming game. Let's get through it, because I know that we are at the point where people are ready for these games to count, ready for these games to matter, ready to move past the preseason. And we know, first of all, we know we're not going to see Sam Darnold. We know we're not going to see Drew Lock. We've already been told that there is only one quarterback for the Seahawks that is going to play in this game, barring injury. We're going to get a full 4 quarters to look at Jalen Milroe. And I think most people are on board with that. I think that is something that is more exciting than the alternative. We know that Darnold's the starter. We know that Locke is the backup. What we don't know, well, we know that Milroe's going to be QB3 and he's going to be a gadget player, et cetera, et cetera. We know that, I guess, but what we don't know is where this is going. I think we have a pretty good idea of where things are going with Darnold. We have a pretty good idea of what's up there. We have a pretty good idea of what Drew Lock is. The mystery remains with Jalen Milroe. So getting to watch him for 4 quarters, with some of that time presumably coming with some competent teammates, should be valuable. So right away, you're cutting yourself off from some of the things in this game that could have been interesting, but you are still opening the door for the most interesting thing possible. So that's going to be interesting. I wouldn't expect to see a guy like K9. I wouldn't expect to see Ken Walker. He played in the joint practice. Part of the reason why you have the joint practice is so you can get a guy something that kind of feels like live reps without actually putting them in a live rep situation. So I wouldn't expect to see guys like that, guys like JSN, Cooper Kupp, Probably not. Wouldn't really expect AJ Barner. The main stuff that I'm looking for on offense, other than Milroe, because under any circumstance, good, bad, or indifferent, watching Jalen Milroe is very, very compelling, very, very intriguing. And I think that that is something that is ubiquitous, even if you're a Seahawks fan that doesn't like him and doesn't believe in him, which, I'm certainly part of that group, but that doesn't mean he's not interesting to watch. That doesn't mean there isn't a compelling reason to keep an eye on his progress. But the main thing I'm looking for offensively in terms of something that can actually affect the 2025 season is the interior, most specifically the center position. I think that is the one position where we could still have some surprises. And maybe this last preseason game is going to be providing that. We know that for the moment, Jalen Milroe has kind of taken over as the clubhouse leader for the position. I think we all know that he is center one at the moment, but the team is not saying that it's over yet. The team is not indicating that it's a done deal. In fact, McDonald said they're not going to name a starter for sure until after this game is over. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to use this game to figure out who that starter is, but I do think it does eliminate the possibility that, hey, we don't count Oluwatimi out quite yet. Don't think that Oluwatimi is just going to roll over and take the backup job. Now, for some pretty obvious reasons, I do think that Sundell will be the starter at center, but it's not, I don't believe that it's on ice yet. I don't. I think they're looking at Jalen Sundell and thinking this guy was available when we needed it, right? Oluwatimi got hurt. Sundell was healthy. And during that very crucial period of time at the start of the preseason, he was the guy who was there, and he played fairly well. They're looking at that, and they're saying, look, tough luck for Oluwatimi. He didn't do anything wrong. He got hurt. People can't really control that, especially players who are not known to be overly injury prone like Oluwatimi. But it is what it is, and Sundell does provide some upside that Oluwatimi does not. Sundell is a much better athlete. We talked about this in a previous video. He can do things physically that Oluwatimi will never be able to do. He can do things physically that even the best centers in the league can't do. This is a unique player in many capacities, in many ways. And I do think that we look at him and go, that is the kind of talent we need in this scheme. That is the ability that will really unlock this scheme. That is more important in some ways than getting the best player. Maybe Oluwatimi is a little bit better than Sundell at this point. Maybe. I think that there's a pretty decent chance that he is, but there is something to be said for a scheme fit. But I want to see who gets to play at center this week. I want to see when they get to play. I want to see maybe what we're doing behind those two guys. Are we maybe trying to find a last-second home for Christian Haynes? Are we just going to give the center snaps to Moranguez? Are we going to do... I don't know. I want to see what happens at center, though, because to me, that's the big mystery. I don't think right guard's a mystery anymore. Bradford might play. I could definitely see Bradford wanting to build a little bit of experience, even in a preseason game at this point, just because he's got the starting job on lockdown. Doesn't mean he won't be needing those reps. Doesn't mean he can't benefit from those reps. So, excuse me. I do think there's a decent chance that Bradford plays, but I don't think there's any mystery there left. And beyond that, there is definitely some stuff being determined on the depth level here. Wide receiver's the big one. We know, I think, at this point what the top three is. I think we know that Horton's moved up into that 3 spot. Horton's not going to play, by the way, I'm sure. He's got the ankle injury. He's being careful with it. There's no need for him to not be careful with it. There's no need for him to make it worse. There's no need for him to go out there and say, oh, look at me, I can do this, so therefore I should be getting more playing time. I think we have a pretty good idea of what Torrey Horton is. We don't need another preseason game to see it, but I want to see what happens with MVS. Are we going to play him a bunch? Are we not going to play him? Are we going to play him a courtesy amount? And what are the motivations? Are we trying to build his trade value so we can trade him? Are we trying to give him an opportunity to win a spot on the team? Are we going to put him on special teams to see if he wants to earn it that way? is there maybe an understanding that he's already got the roster spot locked down and there's no way that he gets released? That's why we're keeping him on ice. Like, whatever we see out there with MVS is not necessarily going to firmly indicate exactly what the plan is, but I want to see what we do with him. I want to see if he gets a lot of reps, and I want to see what he does with it. And again, I want to see what happens over the next few days after that preseason game is over. Is he gone? Is his roster spot already settled? Is there some ambiguity? I don't know. That one really confuses me because I obviously want to have the I want to have a veteran I can fall back on in the event of somebody disappointing or getting hurt, but a guy like MVS, you don't really want to be putting him in you don't really want to be putting him on the bench all season where he doesn't get to play. He's better than that, and he deserves a little better than that. And if you end up having him sit on the bench all year making $4 million and he catches like 10 passes all year, that's a waste of resources that you just don't need to be making right now. And there's a team out there that would probably give you a little something for him. So I want to see what goes on there. And then I'm thinking about those final 2 roster spots. I think we know Bobo is safe at this point. I think Bobo is probably pretty secure on the roster. But again, MVS is involved with one of the last 2 spots. You have somebody like Derek Young, who played really well last week and has some special teams value. You have guys like Ricky White III. You have guys like Cody White. You have, I don't think Broden's really in play for it, but he is technically still on the team, still fighting. Cody White. There's a lot of guys and only a little bit of room. It might only be 1 spot for all we know. I think it's 2, but you've got a very thin needle to thread here. I think that came out wrong. You've got a very small hole to thread the needle through here. And part of the evaluation is going to be, who do you think is going to make it to the practice squad? If you have confidence that Ricky White is going to make it to the practice squad, that's a guy you let go because you know you're going to get to keep him. If you have lowered confidence, if you're confident, for instance, that a guy like Derek Young won't make it to the practice squad, that's a guy you want to keep. Because all these guys can provide a little bit of value in their own way. Is Steven Sims going to be a surprise roster keep because of his returning value? Is that going to be the plan here? He was doing kick returns and punt returns against Green Bay in the joint practice. A lot of interesting stuff to figure out there. That's the main stuff on the offense. I'd say running back as well is kind of interesting. I think things are relatively settled there, but the question is, are you going to carry 3 running backs or 4 running backs? And what's the order going to be? I think it's going to be Holani in 3 and Martinez in 4, and Martinez may or may not make the team, but I don't know. This is where teams have a lot of freedom to kind of freestyle the makeup of their roster. So that's the offense. That's the side of the ball I'm mostly intrigued by. Defensively, I'm looking at the inside linebackers. I'm looking at Drake Thomas. I'm looking at Pat O'Connell. I'm looking at Josh Ross. I'm looking at anybody on this team that plays off-ball linebacker, because we know what we got with the starters. We know that Ernest Jones is Ernest Jones. We know Tyrese Knight looking like he's going to be ready for week 1. Good stuff going on there. Very relieving, by the way. Very happy about that. And I'm okay with that, but I'm also very aware that with the way the team is made up right now, you can't afford any injuries probably. If one of those guys that I just mentioned, Thomas, O'Connell, Ross, if they get on the field with the confidence level that we have in them right now, we would expect bad things to happen. So the thing is, we got to take a look at this and go, okay, who do we trust? Do we trust any of these guys? And if not, can we go get somebody? Can we get a veteran? Can we spend a couple $1 million in free agency before the season starts? Could we wait for cut down day and find a guy from another team that is going to be adequate? Because none of those guys have any real NFL experience. None of those guys have really done anything in the NFL yet. And they are even a minor injury away from having to play live action NFL football. You need to find out if you're comfortable with that. It is a high contact position. It is a position where you would expect players to occasionally missed time, and this is the last chance to figure out what you are comfortable with. Jarek Reed versus Ty Okada, what's going to happen there, both defensively and special teams? I think that's going to be a crucial decision we got to make because, again, our special teams are hanging. And I have a pretty good idea that a guy like D'Anthony Bell is safe. D'Anthony Bell is going to be your fourth safety and one of your key special teamers. But with Emin Wari playing a lot in the slot, you probably need to carry another safety. And it's going to be either Okada or Reed in all likelihood. It seems like Okada was leading for most of the offseason, but that last preseason game, it was interesting. Jarek Reed looked a lot better. Jarek Reed looked really good on both sides. Ty Okada didn't really. If that holds up in this game, maybe things flip. Maybe things have already flipped. Those are the main things I'm thinking about defensively. Those are the things that I really care about. At this point, Mike Morris is probably not going to play because he got dinged up in the joint practice. Normally, I'd say we should keep an eye on that. Of course, the Jamie Sheriff, the Jared Ivey, the Tyreek Smith situation is worth monitoring because Nwosu still hasn't been taken off the PUP, so probably going to gradually work him back in. And a guy like Jared Ivey or Tyreek Smith or Jamie Sheriff being good is going to go a long way in enabling that without costing us big. So that's pretty much all I can say about this one. I think that kind of rounds up everything. The special teams are going to be very interesting to keep an eye on. Who's out there? Who does the team trust? Are the results better than against Kansas City? Because I was looking back at it. Kansas City game was even worse than we remember. The Chiefs had 3 kick returns go for at least 34 yards, including one that went 50, and Jason Myers had to make the tackle on it. And then on top of that, you had the punt return. So we got to find our guys. We got to find the guys that we trust to go out there and deliver good reps on special teams. Okay. See you guys later. Maybe another video later today. I don't know if anything's going to happen. I don't think the team is doing anything in practice because they're already in Green Bay and there's a game tomorrow. You don't really need to. So I'm not really anticipating any action today, but maybe we make a signing. Dalton Risner's out there. We know that Jadeveon Clowney is starting to figure out where he's going to go this season. There's some potential trades in the air. There's some stuff that can happen over the next couple of days, so we'll definitely keep our ear to the ground. But right now, that's really about all that can be said. So see you guys later today. Again, might be doing an afternoon Twitch stream. Definitely going to be streaming tonight. See you guys soon. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think down below. Let's get this final preseason game done, and let's get to some games that actually matter.